Good morning, everybody. Hopefully this video finds you well, and hopefully it finds me still alive with the moose down. Hey, did you hear about the constipated mathematician? He had a problem. Well, he worked it out with a pencil. We're going to be working with graphing inequalities today with your pencils, hopefully. So we've already graphed linear equations. If I asked you to graph y equals 2x minus 1. You would be on graph paper naturally. Your y-intercept, -1. Slope is 2. And you draw yourself a perfect little line that's not so perfect. Okay. Now, I'm going to make a small change. Let's make it an inequality. Let's say graph y is greater than or equal to 2x minus 1. Okay. You already know that you can graph this because it's this line. Okay. Keep in mind, solid has greater than or equal or less than or equal to. That makes it a solid line. I'll show you a different one here in a bit. And then the only extra that you need to know is the shading. Okay. Method 1, this is my preferred method. If it is a y isolated equation or inequality, shade according to these. Okay, so this is greater than or equal to, that would be greater than or equal to is above. So from here we go up. All right. Less than or equal to would be below. Okay, that's the method I use. I find it to be easy. Okay. The other method you can use is choose a point. I will choose 0, 0 because I am a fan of easy calculations. Plug in to inequality. So 0 greater than or equal to 2 times 0 minus 1. Okay, I've got my x and my y. If it's a yes, shade here. So this is 0, 0 is a yes, so we're going to shade there. If it's a no, I go on the opposite side. Okay. So there's the easy, cheesy beginning. Let's graph x is greater than 3. Remember, there's no y, so it's a vertical line. This less than or greater than strict. Remember above here we had a equals. Okay. This means we're going to do a dashed line. So at 3, vertical dashed line, you can see that x is always equal to 3. That's what we're looking for. And we're going greater than, which is the positive direction. Okay. Or you could choose, let's say you choose 4, 0. Is 4 greater than 3? Yes, so shade over here. Okay. How about something a little bit more difficult, like this. Standard form. Okay. Lots of ways to do this. First, you could identify its less than or equal to, so we have a solid line. Okay. Algebraically, most people prefer to solve this for y. Okay, so I can add 5. And I can subtract x. And then I can divide by -2. Remember, when you divide by a negative across an inequality, it switches the sign. And I prefer to divide the 2 into each term. Okay, so this is -1 over -2, which is 1/2 x, and then 5 over -2 is minus 5/2. Okay. If we're to graph this, the y-intercept is -2.5. The slope is 1 over 2, so up 1 over 2. And then it's a solid line. And I can shade above because it's y greater. That's the advantage of solving here. Bam, done. Okay. Let's talk about absolute value. What if we were asked to graph y is greater than absolute value of x minus 2? And I know you might be having trouble keeping up. You can put your pencil down and just watch. Because you have Chromebooks, you can always go load it up later and write it. You do need to write it down again, because the more ways you interact with it, you're watching it, you're listening to it. If you write it down, it's another way to keep that in your long-term memory. Writing things down is the best way to put it in long-term memory. Okay. Absolute value. We know the best way to do this right now, until we get to families of functions, is to do a table of values. Okay. And I'll start there. It's just a good general table of values, and plug in and chug. -2 minus 2, absolute value 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And I don't see any symmetry here. I want these numbers to start repeating. So I need to go farther. 3 minus 2 is 1, 2, and I can see they start repeating. So now I can graph it as a dashed line. And it's greater than, so I'm going to shade above. If you're looking ahead to families of functions, anything in parentheses with an x means shift it left or right. This is -2, so I'm going to go opposite of 2, the opposite of -2 to shift it. So it's always, x shifts are always opposite land. So I need to go 2 to the right. I know my slope is 1. Okay. And there's no y shift. There's no up and down shift. There's no different y. So I know I just need to put it on the axis. Okay. Let's have one more. We can have compound inequalities. And we can graph those as well. So if I have something like this, okay, I will yell this at you, split it up. So I'm going to take this as one inequality, and I'm going to take this one as another. So we're going to have two separate graphs that we're going to combine into one. Okay, so I'm going to solve for y. Subtract x here, we get y is greater than negative x minus 1. You can rewrite it if you need to. And here, y is less than or equal to negative x plus 3. All right, y-intercept negative 1, slope negative 1, dashed line, shading above. Now I'm going to caution you not to shade too much on these compounds because you might overshade. Okay, so just put a note there for yourself. And then the other one, plus 3, and it's a solid line. And we're shading below. Okay. Now with the compound inequality such as this, we know that everything's between the two lines. Okay. If it's an or, so we're going to shade between. Feel free to use colors. Please use colors there. Colored pencils in the front cabinet if you need them. Okay. Just a side note, if you get something like y is greater than negative x minus 1 or y is less than, let's change that. So y is less than negative x minus 1, it's the other opposite. Or y is greater than or equal to negative x plus 3. These are your lines, just a rough sketch here. If it's an or, you're going to shade both outsides and the inside's left open. Okay? That is all I have. Let me write your work down here. Again, these are the review problems. Always, always, always do those because that's where I pull content from most of the time, or the evens here. If you have questions or get stuck, ask each other, go to the internet, do what you have to do, because in just a few days, you're going to have your first test. Okay, so keep that in mind. Toodles.